All right, we're now live on camera for YouTube. Public meeting. What's your last name?
Cummins.
I'll let you stand with the.
Wow. Sure glad they never recorded. I switched them. The David Flair came out. Yeah, I never liked Cowboys.
The same price or?
I'm cheaper.
Now, County Wind,
Same size cans, I assume.
6 cans or more. And this got dirt in it, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, yeah, it's true.
Back when they first said, we're going to take you down to 1 day a week so that we don't have to increase your rates.
All right, let's try to start it, people.
7:05 is time to call the order, verification of the quorum. Yeah. Number 3, proof of notice for the meeting. That here, you're stopping this in the mail. Review and approval of previous annual meeting minutes. You have a copy? I wrote them up, so I already know everything there.
You approve your minutes?
All right, move to approve the minutes as written.
I'll go ahead and second it. And the 3 of us vote okay?
Yes.
Alright, sign.
Annual financials. I printed out a couple. Okay, oh, you got some, oh, perfect, just some extra. All right, everybody.
Yeah,
Oh, you got some, perfect. Colleen's way ahead of me. Thank you.
Something's gonna be
Listen, I'm always running pretty up the years, so that's.
There you go. Number 5 on the agenda is reports of officers of the board. I'll go ahead and start. In case those of you who don't know me, my name is Rick Wolfram, and I am the president of the Fredericksburg PUA, Church Mama. And I believe this is my 7th year on the board. So, I appreciate all of the board members who have helped presently, obviously, and also in the past. And we're striving to get this community as nice and upkeep as best as we can. We do have a limited budget, a lot of it because some people are late on their assessments. So, but we try to do the best we can with the money we've got. So, and we're also we will be looking for some volunteers if you'd like to join the board, because we do have an opening or so. Don, got anything?
Okay. My name's Don Brewster. I'm the treasurer. I've been the treasurer for a couple of years now. The financial statements are there ahead of you. We are in fairly good standing with about $32,000 in retained earnings and net excess. We are below target. Auditors like us to be about 15% of our annual assessments. We're about 8% of annual assessments. That said, the last 3 years we have been plus or minus 2% on hitting our budget. So we are good on budget. The challenge really has been there's a select few people with very, very late payment rates. And the board for the last 3 years has been engaging them personally by a letter, by mail, by a certified mail, aggressive legal advice, those types of things. And the board in the last couple of meetings has really started to amp up that those collections need to become more aggressive. So we'll be taking an even more aggressive stance here in the upcoming year. About 2 years ago, we retained a new attorney in town here. He was expensive, and it really kind of blows out the annual budget using the attorney. But that said, there's a certain point where the amount of debt that is high enough goes over, say, 10,000, to use a rough number, where engaging an attorney makes sense to go collect it, to help us collect it. So, we did do a large cash outlay from the reserves. The signs are being renovated, the front signs at the front entrance are going to be completely redone. The estate signs are being refurbished as we speak, which is good. Diane did a lot of great work getting that stuff done. We will be renewing the mowing contract this year. The board has kind of a change in intent plan for the year. We had a lot of emphasis on annuals, 3 or 4 times a year. We had a spring set of annuals, summer and fall. We're going to change that, try to go to perennials, try to get our mowing frequency up. We had a bunch of back common areas that were not mowed regularly. But we will be putting that out for bid in the next couple of months. So if you know of people who have contacts or vendors that want to bid the work, we will be writing a new performance work statement, putting out a request for proposals and trying to get that done. We have noticed that there are numbers of things around the area that we need to update. Some paint's peeling on signs, we have some signs that are leaning. The bridge needed to be looked at, so we're looking at a new punch list in the spring, and we're gonna try and have a handyman come out, give us a bid to replace and fix a lot of the signs and a lot of the paint that's peeling here and there around the property. Okay, in the last year, we completed our 5-year reserve study. For those of you that haven't been here, by law, we're required to get an independent company to come in and assess the state of the sidewalks, the buildings, the monuments, the common areas, and make sure that they do a projected pro forma for the next 20 years, that we have enough cash to be soluble for the entire period of time. We are very happy to have passed and fit into the plan nicely. But in doing so, they've recommended that we max the increases for 2 more years on the annual assessments. So I think our limit is 5%.
5% increase.
So there'll be a 5% increase in 2018, and then a 5% increase in 2000. I think it's like $12 is going to be the increase. It's not substantial, but it's enough to fund the reserves that we're required to have by law.
Is that 5% in the bylaws?
It's the governing documents.
In either of our governing documents, it says we can't change by more than 5%. So the monument repairs are not coming out of the annual budget, our operating budget. They're coming out of that reserve budget, which is the maintenance of monuments and that kind of stuff. And we did do a full RFP process and had at least 3 bids and brought in numbers of vendors for all the work that we prepared to do. Okay, from a financial perspective, we're in good shape, but I think you're gonna hear in the upcoming year some screaming from some people as the vice clampens down in this period. And then we expect from the mowing contract to save a little bit of money, and with that, we're gonna try and pursue some of the legal fees and get some other money back, some of the back fee money. There's been a write-off of $5,000 for the bad debt expense. I have a continuing argument with our auditor and our management company, who say, you know, after a year or 2 or 3, we're never gonna collect those fees when you don't pay it. So someone doesn't pay the $300, then they go through a year, 2 years, 3 years, after 4 years, they say we're never gonna collect it. But they all agree that the fees almost always get paid when the house is sold. The issue is sometimes it takes 7 to 10 years before the person actually goes to sell their house. But the incoming buyer will bring the account positive, or the lending company can't get a HOA approval to conduct the closing. So I've been arguing with them that these $5,000 write-offs, which are making our book operating expenses look like we're losing sometimes, are a little too aggressive. And so we kind of go back and forth about that. But if you look at that.
What's the end game on that?
So eventually, if you get the debt paid, then you get to go back to them and say, look, in 2010, I was right. In 2011, I was right.
No,
And
you also,
only until the future. Now, if they ever get one where they don't pay, they get to say in 2010.
you also get a mark in the reserve fund, though.
Say that again?
on the income statement.
Your income statement may not look positive during that time, but if indeed you pick up an extra $5,000, that could go in the reserve.
Well, so
Because in
we
another
have
5
to,
years, you're gonna have another assessment anyway.
and Jack is a past president, so he's very, you know, intimately involved with this. Yes and no, in the sense that no matter what, if we lost $10,000 or $15,000 in any given year, we still, by law, have to make the reserve installment payment. So the association has that mortgage into the reserves that we pay every year, no matter whether we're up or
That I
down.
understand, I'm just suggesting that the reality is that the increase wouldn't need to happen in any given year if you have a $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 bump.
Yes.
Because of delinquent payments
You're right.
coming in.
You're right. So the interesting thing is, in many businesses, you would say, well, I've lost the use of that $300 that you didn't pay me in 2017. But we bill a late fee every quarter that actually makes us money on the fee side. So we make a fee side profit.
Once
We're
collected.
never losing because of the late side, because we're always getting fees. The question is, will we ever lose that principal? But that debt continues to generate fees every quarter for us. Now, we are capped at the amount of fees that we can do, I believe, per year, per. I think every home can only get like $400 in fees assessed to it in a given year by the people. Anyway, so the bottom line is, we're in a good financial state. We are renegotiating contracts to keep ourselves financially lean, and we're looking at, doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. With the 5-year plan in place, I think that we're looking good for a period of time. Any other
Professional
questions?
Grounds
Good
gonna
question, Randy. Jack? Yes, sir.
Professional Grounds gonna submit a request?
We're gonna make them go back to proposal, yes, sir.
Have you been pleased with them for the most part?
That's really been Diane's bailiwick. We've kind of left that to her. I thought that the front entrance looks fantastic, and,
It's the rest of the community the front looks fantastic, like John just said, it's great. It's the rest of the community that gets neglected.
yeah, we've had at least a dozen complaints in the last year alone that there are some of the low-lying common areas in the back that aren't getting hit in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even 5 weeks. It's even
Back behind
stipulated
Stacy
by the
Mountain.
contract, right? And so, we've been using up our goodwill on our contracts at the front monument, asking for replacement flowers when they're done, and extra watering and extra attention up there. But, I think that the board's intent, we've discussed this a little bit, is to try and get to a more, maybe not quite as fancy at the front, but definitely more even around the pond and regular maintenance around the entire community, including the estates. Okay, any other questions?
Jordan, you wanna go ahead and introduce yourself? You're the brand new guy.
Yeah, my name's Jordan Watkins, I live on Joshua Lane, and this is my first day on the board.
Welcome, Jordan.
Careful what you wish for.
So Jordan got some good exposure to the board with his architectural changes last year, so we got to know him a little bit, and he has since volunteered to help out, which is great.
Excellent. All right, so, take care of that. Get an introduction of candidates.
Well, is there anybody interested in running for a position on the board as a director?
Come on, Randy.
Come on, Randy.
I'm actually moving.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I'll be moving in the next 18 or so months.
Your children are getting too old.
So I'm going to college and we're going to
Too
live
big
in
a
a
house.
house.
Oh, man.
Jack and Dave, we'd love to see you. We could use your help.
10802, stop by anytime.
How about you, John?
Horace, you only done 20 years, man.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Lynn?
We could go one by one around the table.
I would, but
You visited
I work too
Inclewood.
many
Yeah,
evenings and
okay.
nights, and my job I'm just not here all the time.
Or,
Did it result in?
I will say this, as a past president,
Yes.
I remember that.
and I know Horace feels the same, there's a good, bad, and ugly about that board. And the beauty of it was, you spend a great deal of time, you get to know good people that care very little about anything other than helping out the community as a whole. And as anybody who's served on any committee anywhere knows that for 3 people or 6 people in the committee, you're gonna have 3 different opinions and 6 different opinions on the same committee. And you may have 6 different opinions with 3 people. So, I mean, the reality is that the people that I've known, and I was on the board for 7 years myself, when Horace was running it, and then myself, it's quite gratifying when it works. It's quite frustrating when you feel like all you're listening to are the complaints. But when you get to the point where you realize that you could be the solution to the complaints, then that's kind of,
Yeah, that's fair.
we won that one. And
For sure.
the finances, Don and I literally, didn't mention this, but he and I literally went door to door on 4 different occasions, and were successful with each and every one of them. So it was kind of a, you know, the glass isn't half full or half empty, it's a good bit full.
Yes.
And it's well worth putting in some time if you've got the ability.
Well, the thing that I appreciate from Jack and Horace and the 5 folks who have served and come in is it's volunteer, right? We're all volunteers, so as much as we want to blame the board for any given circumstance or situation that is unraveling at any given time, it's, you know, not our fault. No, not our fault, but it is and where we are. Thanks, Jack. Okay.
And we appreciate the job you guys are doing as well, and those who, you know, Jack and all of us who served before. But we want to create an opportunity for others now to step up
Absolutely.
and participate. So the opportunity is there.
There you go.
We won't put anyone else on the spot.
Nobody bought that one.
That's it, okay.
All right.
It's a nice try, though.
We haven't approved it. Do we have to put it on the ballot? Okay. All
Okay.
right, number 8, election of new directors. What does that entail?
Well, we don't have any, so.
Candidate.
And through the course of the year, if somebody does decide to think about